The 2020 schedule for Nebraska was pretty tough. When you look at who they had to play, the Big Ten did them no favors with their schedule, having to play Ohio State right out of the gate, also having to play Penn State, which it turned out that Penn State wasn't as good as they were expected to be. But still a tough draw in the Big Ten. You look to 2021 and the schedule really doesn't get any easier. This is once again going to be one of the tougher schedules really in all of college football. They were 3-5 last year. Looking at the schedule for 2021, you can see immediately Oklahoma right there, big non-conference game, and once again they will play Ohio State. But before we go game by game, let's look at who they play outside of the Big Ten West, because we know they're going to play every team in the Big Ten West, obviously. In the non-conference, they will play Buffalo on the road at Oklahoma and Southeast Louisiana. Not too tough outside of Oklahoma. Obviously, that's going to be a very tough matchup. But Buffalo, I know they had a great year last year, but they lost a ton of production. They actually returned one of the fewest amounts of production from 2020 in all of college football. So that's good news there. You should be able to take care of them. And then Southeast Louisiana, obviously an FCS team. And then you look at who they play out of the East. They'll play Michigan State on the road, then Michigan and Ohio State at home. Ohio State obviously is going to make it tough because you're going to have to play them. But I don't know that it really matters who you play out of the East outside of playing Ohio State, because Michigan, yeah, it's a big name, but we don't know if Michigan, they were not very good last year. We don't know how good Penn State's going to be. I think Penn State and Indiana are probably the second and third best teams in that division, so avoiding them actually is not bad. But of course, having to play Ohio State makes it very tough. But yeah, Michigan State and Michigan, they're kind of wild cards. We don't know for sure how good they're going to be, so that could potentially be a really tough draw, or it could potentially be pretty balanced with Ohio State and then possibly two of the lower tier teams in the East. So let's go back to the schedule now. They will open up actually on week 0, August 28th, and this game was supposed to take place in Ireland, I believe, but they have now moved this game. It didn't take them long to make that decision. They're moving this game to Illinois, so it'll be a home game for Illinois, road game for Nebraska, and it's going to be again on that Saturday of week 0. Saturday of week 0. There will be a handful of games that Saturday, but this is a big opportunity, I think, for Nebraska. If they can look impressive in this game, you kind of get a spotlight there, national spotlight, because this is going to be the biggest game of that day. Maybe in recruiting and other areas, it could potentially help Nebraska if they show up and if they are impressive in this game. Obviously, if you lose, it's going to hurt you. And they're looking for revenge in this game. Remember, Illinois beat them last year, so that's a big game to start the season off. And really, it will set the tone for their entire year. If they lose that game, I'm afraid it's going to be a really bad year. If they win that game, there's potential. They will not play the next week. So the week that's week 1 for most everyone in college football, they won't be playing. They'll have that week off. Then they'll jump back in against Buffalo on September 11th. And like I said a second ago, Buffalo is not going to be the team that they were last year. That's a game that Nebraska should be able to handle. And then a big one on September 18th against Oklahoma on the road, of course, old Big 12 matchup. And it's just going to be a tough one for Nebraska. Let's just be honest. Oklahoma is going to be really good this year. Plus, you're playing on the road. That's a tough matchup. Then September 25th, they'll go on the road to face Michigan State. How about that? Back-to-back road games, Oklahoma and Michigan State. Pretty tough test there. Then it's Northwestern on October 2nd. I think Northwestern is a winnable game. I believe that they'll be down a little bit from where they were last year. Michigan there on October 9th. That could be kind of a swing game as well. That one could have a big impact on their season. That's the type of game that if you can win, it can really propel you. And if you lose, it's going to hurt, obviously. And then we go to October 16th on the road at Minnesota. Gophers were down a little bit last year. Hard to really figure out what they're going to look like this year. This is a Minnesota team that beat Nebraska last year, though, in a close game. I think this is going to be a good one, a close game, another one of those games that could really go either way and could maybe swing the season for the Cornhuskers. You're talking about, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota. These are all games that could go either way, and if you win them all, you're going to have a really good year, because there are, most of the games on this schedule are winnable for Nebraska. Purdue comes up after that, after a bye week, I should say. They get a bye week after Minnesota. Then they'll play Purdue on October the 30th. They did beat Purdue last year, so we'll see if they can do it again. They'll play Ohio State on November 6th, a little bit later in the season. Seems like they've been playing them early in the year. They'll play them on the 6th, then they'll get to recover after that one with Southeast Louisiana. And it's rare to see in the Big Ten, it's rare to see a non-conference game in November. You just don't normally see that, but that's what will happen with Nebraska. They'll have Wisconsin on November 20th on the road. Tough game. You know, if they're going to have a chance in the Big Ten West, if they're still alive, it's going to come down to these last 2 games. Wisconsin and Iowa. Those are games that they're probably going to have to win if they're going to have a chance to win the division. They'll play Wisconsin on the road and then a quick turnaround playing Iowa on the Friday after Thanksgiving. That is a very tough test there, playing Wisconsin on the road and then a quick turnaround playing Iowa. The good news, again, is they get Southeast Louisiana before that, so maybe they can kind of take a little bit of time and prepare for those 2 games. It's almost like having a bye week, honestly. So, again, you look at the schedule, a lot of games that could go either way. A lot of games that, again, Nebraska can win. They can win most of the games on their schedule, and it's probably going to come down to a lot of close one-possession games, and if they can be successful in those games, it's going to be a great year. If they're not successful in those games and they lose a lot of close ones, it's going to be another rough one for the Cornhuskers.